The group itself was started in March of 1983, and at that time, the only thing, Metallica put out their first album, Slayer put out their first album, we've been along for a very long time, and in those days, everything was called black metal, and we didn't really want to be confused with all that, so we just labeled our music death metal, and 6 months later, everybody called themselves death metal, and the original lineup split up shortly after we did the recordings for, we did the 2 songs for the compilation album.
Scandinavian Metal Attack.
Right. And, since then, April of 1984 and up until August last year, we've been through 5-6 different lineups, So we've been really having kind of a, great member problems, And not until August last year, I got this lineup together, and this is just the right one.
On that compilation, Scandinavian Metal Attack 1, right, you have the 2 tracks, Sacrifice and The Return of Darkness and Evil. That came out before the first album?
Yeah, that was the first thing we ever did.
Okay, so why did you wait till The Return to put that one song?
Oh, mainly because I needed a new lyric for it. Because I didn't want to do it on the first one, because I really didn't think of that in.
What type of bands do you listen to?
Oh, just anything. I mean, if you don't write this kind of metal or whatever, you rehearse stuff with the guys, and if you don't do that, you record the whole thing, and if you don't do that, you got the ideas for the next stuff on your mind, so, this kind of metal is on my mind around all the time, really. So, when you just lay back at home, when you really want to get a listen to something totally different, like classical music, or just good old rock and roll, it's really hard to really put your finger on it and say, like, this is what I listen to. So I just listen to any good stuff, with the exception for metal and, the death metal, the speed metal. Right. Simply because I don't want to pick up any influences consciously or unconsciously. And most of the stuff is crap. So that's one of the reasons why I don't pick it up at all.
Alright, that sounds cool. Let's see, how many shows have you ever played live?
None.
You played none live?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Mainly because of the show.
What do you mean?
You heard the records, right?
Yeah.
Okay, imagine what we do on a record, we put it on stage and make it visible.
So,
talk about bombs, you had 10 feet high bombs and stuff like that. We used 35 to 40 feet high bombs, levitating drum kit, a lot of fire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fire to the guitar during the concert, smash it up and breathe fire with it and stuff like that. And it's a kind of a controversial thing to do in Sweden. And I believe the same kind of policy down here. I mean, you can't just walk up on stage and do this right away. So the reason is one of the reasons why we haven't done this on stage before is because we've had a lot of memory problems. And we haven't really had the time and organization to come up with anything until now. And what we're going to do is, after the next album, which we're going to go into record in about 2 weeks, which is going to be a double album, and I can tell you more about that later on, but we're going to do a video containing 6 to 7 tracks performed on stage with the full stage show and everything. And we're going to have a little interviews and some history history, for those who doesn't know the whole story behind the group and everything, and that's going to be put out together with the next album sometime in March or February or next year. And the reason why we do the video in the first place is because we want all our fans to have an equal way to see us the way we want them to see us. And, you know, it's going to cost a lot of money to walk up on the show, on the stage and do that kind of show. You know, we don't want to do the regular kind of club set, you know, because anybody can do that. We want to do something special because we know people have, you know, GB expectations about Battery. So we want to do the video first.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it true you slay animals on stage?
That was just a statement I made about 3.5 or 4 years ago, because when people came down to the rehearsal place and heard us play, it was like, you know, oh, guys, you're really special, so you want to take this thing on stage and really do something special out of it. And, you know, the most crazy stuff I could come up with was slay a lamb on the stage. There was never any deeper intention or seriousness behind that. It was just a loose statement that has been a very hard thing to sort of like wash away. You know, people, that kind of statement has been following us for years. We never had any intentions of doing that. I respect all living creatures.
Yeah.
Dead ones too, I guess.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess, how well are your albums selling here in the States?
All right, they're really just fun. You know, about 50% of all the fan letters we received are from the United States. And it's like, well, the last album under some black market just being put out through Sense Records here in the United States before we had Combat, and they were just doing like a piss-up job. So I believe most of the records that we sell here over here in the United States are import, and so we really don't have any figures on the United States.
Yeah.
As far as Europe, I believe we just made a hell of a good success in Europe.